Welcome to Talking Early Years, a showcase training podcast with Ellen Roberts
and Gemma Carr. Hello and welcome to today's Talking Early Years podcast. This is our 9th episode in our Safeguarding Shorts series. So in this episode, we're going to be discussing contact advice and support and how this can help support us as practitioners. So let's delve in. Ellen, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Gemma. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. So Ellen, what are the common sources of contacts, advice and support out there? Where are some places we can be looking?
So a lot of resources out there vary, very much so, but our top resource is the NSPCC website. There is also an email mailing list called Caspar, CASPAR, and that is a regular newsletter. It's about once a week, I think it comes through, with all sorts of safeguarding news and updates. That is the go-to resource for us here at Showcase. We do also use other sources like the mainstream news media for different updates and resources, sometimes each other as well for recommendations for Netflix shows and Channel 4 documentaries and things that we all love watching. But the NSPCC is absolutely the main source. We at Showcase also have a massive wealth of resources on our website. So it's just showcasetraining.co.uk/safeguarding. And on there is all sorts from local news stories to the resources that we use, as well as things that you can download. So free downloadables for legislation guides. So your core legislation that kind of backs up your safeguarding knowledge, and information guides and posters on things like the prevent duty, modern slavery, county lines, and key information and contacts. And in the key information and contacts crib sheet, it also gives you local teams for you to contact, so your regional safeguarding teams. So it could be your MASH hubs or local children's services, whatever it may be relevant to your local area. So we cover that for Hampshire, Dorset, Wiltshire, Berkshire, Surrey, Kent and Sussex. So all of the nurseries and surrounding counties that we operate in. Your Showcase Training Tutor is also a resource. So I think quite often people forget about that. So when they're doing their safeguarding units, they forget that you can ask us for advice and support as well. So all of our tutors are trained in safeguarding. We do safeguarding training every single team meeting. That's every 6 weeks. So there is always a discussion about safeguarding within our team. So our knowledge is kept up to date. You can also go to your DSL, so your designated safeguarding lead in the setting, or to Showcase's DSL, that's me. And my deputy is my colleague Nicola Bailey, who's also our mental health lead. So again, you can come to us for advice and support at any time. And there's also then the police. And again, that's a key contact that people forget as well. So if you've got concerns, go to the police and ask them for advice. They have safeguarding teams that are highly trained in the police, and they are very useful source for advice. So in terms of advice that they can give us, what sort of advice would you go to them for, Gemma?
Anything to do with safeguarding?
Absolutely
anything. So it could be things from indicators of abuse. What do you do if you had a concern? Support for you, which I think if you're going through a case or concerns, that's really important to remember as well, is kind of how you're protecting yourself and how you're looking after yourself during that. And kind of the during and after processes of that disclosure. Local and national information about wider safeguarding landscape. So again, thinking about what we've got online, think about the different regions and how they might slightly differ. The CPD, just your everyday CPD, weekly, monthly, something you could even work with your teams and use with your teams in your staff meetings, even kind of thinking about how some of the advice we've got on our websites and kind of bringing that through. And then there's the advice about the law as well. So the legislations behind it.
Absolutely. I think we've discussed this before as well. Safeguarding is often not just one incident or one obvious incident that happens. It's a lot of little things that kind of build up to a wider picture. So again, that CPD is really important, especially when we're looking at the difference in regional aspects. So it could be the different landscape in Hampshire compared to London, for example, they're completely different threats. So we are listening out for completely different things. So you need to know safeguarding in your locality to understand what you're looking out for in context of your children.
Absolutely.
Language as well evolves and emerges. It changes all the time. We know it's always a bit of a joke, really, with younger generations have a new language, all sorts of phrases and terms that us oldies aren't used to. What on earth does that mean? So again, it's keeping on top of that kind of thing. It's really important for your CPD and for your general practice, being aware of popular culture, what's going on online and what people are talking about in context of, is this a safeguarding issue or not?
Absolutely. So Ellen, what is the legislation that we can be thinking about and working towards and kind of knowing?
So the two core pieces of legislation that you must know is Keeping Children Safe in Education 2024. It is updating in 2025. They update it every single year. So be aware, every September there is an update. They've released the draft edit of the 2025 at the minute, so you can go online and read that. There's no massive changes for early years and FE. It's mainly for schools. The changes for this year, it's all tweaks to wording. So it's not a significant policy change this year, but you must keep abreast of that. Every single person in education must read and sign to say that they've read part 1 of the Keeping Children Safe in Education. That's by law. So it's your DSLs that have to read the whole document. It's quite a large document, but it's useful. And it also contains contacts and flowcharts of what to do and procedures.
Interesting.
So it's really interesting, really useful. And then the second one is something called Working Together to Safeguard Children of 2023. Quite often people forget about that one because they see the KICSI, as we call it, the Keeping Children Safe, and then forget about the working together. So again, on our website on showcasetraining.co.uk/safeguarding, there's some crib sheets. So you can download some guides to the key legislation. So it just says what it is, principles, your responsibilities, and then extra little bits of information on there to summarize that for you. So you can see, again, for people doing their coursework, on the legislation or talking about it in our live group training sessions, they can have a little bit more information. We've also got featured on there the Equality Act of 2010, the Children Act of 1989 and the revision from 2004. Then we've got the Counter-Terrorism and Security Act of 2015. That's where your prevent duty comes from. And then we also have the General Data Protection Regulations of 2018 or GDPR, because again, in terms of safeguarding, GDPR is important, but it is trumped by a safeguarding concern. You do not have to keep that secure and safe. You have to pass that on to the appropriate authorities or through your DSL if there is a concern. Safeguarding is paramount. But equally, in safeguarding for DSLs, you have to keep correct records and you have to follow GDPR regulations for in terms of keeping that information and that sensitive information secure. And a record now from the Keeping Children Safe in Education 2024 update, you have to keep a record of every single safeguarding incident that comes your way. So some really important information. There are so many different pieces of legislation that also feed into that. That is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination, but they are your core pieces.
And all of those legislations come up within our level 2 qualification, level 3, 4, 5 as well. Absolutely. So every single qualification that we provide for early years, we talk about these legislations. So having that as a go-to on the website is great.
Excellent.
So is there any other further information we can find? Where would we get that from?
So I would definitely recommend that you sign up to our newsletter on our website. So when you go onto our website, there should be a pop-up welcoming you to sign up for that. So our newsletter every single month summarises all of our blogs, any updates in the sector and any other resources and materials that we send out to learners. And it's not just aimed at learners, it's aimed at our employers or anyone working in early years. So access it. Copies of those blogs and the newsletters are on our website all the time anyway. And we've also got on the website, we've got our magazine. There's a digital version of the magazine that you can download. Our links to our podcast that you're listening to today and our safeguarding news feed as well. So it is all there on the website. We've got under resources at the top of our website things like careers advice, our newsletter, SEND support, mental health support, all sorts of different things. So an absolute wealth of resources.
Absolutely.
As we said earlier as well, the NSPCC website is brilliant, as are their Casper emails, but also your local council website. So, for example, the Hampshire Safeguarding Children Partnership has a brilliant website for resources, and they offer free webinars as well in there that you can sign up. They do tend to be during the day.
Yeah.
But if you're able to, they do quite a lot of lunchtime learning as well. So for people to hop on, it's completely free to make an account and to join. But they have all sorts of webinars on there that are really, really informative.
That would be really good as an off-the-job entry as well, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
You know, when you think about your off-the-job, that would be something really, really great to kind of see in your journal into your off-the-job entries.
Very much encourage that. And then in terms of how you can use this information in your setting, what's a really useful thing is to have reminders around the place. So on the backs of toilet doors or in staff rooms, having the crib sheets, your posters, the magazine that we have, our newsletter, have them printed off around the place so that it's constantly on people's minds just to pick up, have a read of it, or have a listen to the podcast on the way to work. And then it's always part of your topics of conversation. It's also really useful, as you mentioned, Gemma, to have in team meetings and share for training for staff. There's no need to reinvent the wheel with safeguarding. You don't need to constantly just keep repurposing things because you think that it has to be your own. Use our resources. That's what they're there for. Use the NSPCC resources. Don't worry about having to make something brand new. Use what's around you to bring it all together.
And all of those crib sheets we have broken down, so they are short, sharp information. They're pretty, they're, you know, aesthetically pleasing for learners to kind of read through and kind of digest that information as well. So
absolutely
great,
making it accessible and readable and interesting as well for people to have a look at and digest.
Yeah, of course.
So thank you very much for tuning in today. As always, safeguarding is a massive topic. So if you've got any concerns, you can reach out to your settings DSL or to the Showcase Training Safeguarding Lead, which is myself, or equally to your local MASH or LADO.
Don't forget to like, share, follow this podcast to stay updated. And as always, let's keep the conversation going about early years. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference.